Hi everyone, Lazy Fire here. Welcome to the Hate the Player podcast. We took last week off because I was sick, but joining me this week, as per usual, is our theme song writer, Three Toes.
Yay! Yeah, you were sick. I was recovering from all the awesome sex I had from Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I bet. I'm sure that was a thing. There's part of me that's like, yeah, let's go into this and talk about Valentine's Day, and there's the bigger part of me that doesn't want to have anything to do with it. So
no, I mean it's and luckily my girlfriend's of the same mindset. It's cheesy, like it's all right, but I mean if you want to show someone you care, like do it every day. Don't relegate it to one fucking day in the middle of February. That's clearly just a Hallmark holiday.
yeah, that's how my wife and I have been for years. Like basically Wine Fest, that thing we go to that was a total disappointment this year was. We've always said that that's our Valentine's Day present to each other is going to that. So
Gotcha.
and that's a month before Valentine's Day, so we'll generally like grab a bottle of wine, for her, and she'll get me a bottle of whiskey or something, and then we'll go drink those in separate rooms. So our relationship is strong.
We don't want to even see each other on Valentine's Day.
Yeah, we actually, because I was sick that weekend, we ended up going out for a nice dinner on Friday, and then we went and bought a bunch of shit that was on our wedding registry that we didn't get. So I always wanted a nice vacuum cleaner that was better than the one I had, and a good.
Oh, did you get a Dyson?
No, fuck that. That was not on sale. The one I got was a Bissell. It was $69 on sale. I had gift cards.
Bissell's legit.
Yeah.
You can get behind that.
Well, when I first moved into this house, my parents got me a really powerful fucking vacuum, and I loved that thing. That was my favorite appliance we had that didn't break down, and then it broke down. And the weird part was, the motor in the main thing was running just fine. Now we're getting to a podcast about vacuum repair.
Welcome to Adult Chat.
Yeah, but the issue was that the motor controlling the brush didn't work. And I was really fucking upset because I stripped this thing down to base components to figure that out. And I'm just looking at this thing, and it's wired into the frame, and I can't fix this. This is bad. So that thing sat basically idle and was used to clean up cat litter, but it wasn't even doing that job anymore. So it kind of sucked, and so it needed to go away. So that's
it sucked.
Yeah, it didn't.
Sounds
suck
fine
enough.
to me.
Yeah, fuck off. That was the same thing my wife said too. It was our current vacuum sucks. She goes, "No, that's the problem." And I was like, "God damn it!"
Fucking wife jokes.
Fucking yeah, they're like dad jokes, but no children. Yeah. So.
But yeah, I cooked dinner and then we went to a concert and that was it.
Good deal. Who'd you see?
It's called the Everyone Orchestra.
Okay.
It's a really cool concept. So it's a couple of guys from a few different jam bands. But this isn't really a jam band type of show per se. It is, but it isn't. So you've got all these guys, like two guitarists, a bassist, a drummer, a keys player, a horn player, and then a few guests that kind of come up on stage, a few guest vocalists. And then there's a guy who's a conductor. And he's up there in kind of like a Joseph in the Technicolor Dreamcoat, but it's like a tuxedo jacket with tails and a matching top hat. And he's got these little dry erase tablets with him, and he'll just tell one random member of the band to start a song. Absolutely nothing's pre-written.
Mm-hmm.
They don't come in there with any ideas. He'll write down funk or blues or some kind of, or just one random word and point to someone in the band saying, all right, you're starting the song. They start playing whatever first comes to their mind. Then he'll start directing other members of the band how to come in, when to come in. He'll call out solos. He'll write down key changes on the tablet and show it to the band. Solo trade-offs, stops, swells, starts, breakdowns. And it's really... It's amazing because they're writing music on the fly,
mm-hmm.
and some of them are kind of all right. Some of them are just kind of this is pretty good, but some of them just end up being absolutely amazing. Everyone's just right on the same page, kind of creating the song. He'll write down stuff for the audience to yell out at certain points in the song, like holding the tablets up to the people out in the audience. It was just a really, really, really neat experience. This is the second time I've seen them, but it was my girlfriend's first time, and we had an awesome time. Like it's really, really cool to see music being created like that.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I mean,
Yeah.
It's different too, and that's, I think, a big thing. Like, if you go out there and because I've gone and seen like Cake perform, let's say, and I know all their songs forward and back for whatever reason.
Right.
So does my wife. So did everyone else in the fucking audience, and like everyone was really excited to see Cake. But we knew what we were going to get. We're going to get short, long jacket. We're going to get the distance at some point in the night, you know. You're going to get Rick James and whatever. But when you go to something like that, you don't know what's going to happen, and each time is going to be a little different.
Exactly. And yeah, I highly recommend checking them out. It's called the Everyone Orchestra.
Cool. Yeah, if they're are they touring? Are they local? What's the deal there?
They're so one of the bands that some of the guys are from is called Papadozio. They're from Ohio. But the thing is, the two times I've seen them, the drummer's the same, the conductor's the same. Pretty sure the bass player was the same. The rest of the guys, they only do about 3 to 5 shows at a time. And the conductor, I wish I could remember the guy's name, talked about this at the start of the show. He was like, we only do about 3 to 5 shows at a time, then we switch people out. So it's kind of something new every time. But no, they tour definitely along the East Coast a fair bit. Not sure about out west at all. But yeah, so he very much likes to bring in new musicians for every little stint that they do, 3 to 5 nights in different locations, just to kind of switch things up to make sure things don't get stale, to have new input from different people. So it's pretty cool, and I imagine it's kind of dependent on the other people's tour schedule with their other bands, because it's you pretty much have to drop your other band for a little bit to go play with these guys. So
right. No, that does sound really cool. I know people who would definitely be into going to see something like that.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, it is jam bandy. A lot of hippies in the crowd. Because I mean, it is just improvised music, and they all come from jam bands anyway.
Yeah.
But it's not your typical just like one key vamps that go on for 30 minutes at a time with nothing interesting happening. It's him. He's directing the music. They're taking it places. It's not a traditional jam band type of thing. So
there's a structure to it all.
But it's structured on the fly.
Right.
So
yeah, it's different. It's not what you're going to get when you go to a normal jam band. It's not what you're going to get when you go to a regular concert.
Right. So even then, I'm kind of hesitant to tell people to like check them out on YouTube or anything, because it really is one of those things that you have to see in person to appreciate.
Yeah, you're never going to get a record out of these guys.
Oh no.
Yeah, wouldn't work.
No, not at all.
The conductor is currently holding up a sign that says blues and pointing to the lead guitarist. Narrator, and yeah, that'd be great.
It's kind of like buying a stand-up album that's nothing but physical bits.
I fucking hate that. It's so bad. It's like you can hear the audience laughing, and it's just, what the fuck's happening? He's not saying anything. The audience is just laughing.
So, you ever notice how when people walk like this?
Yeah.
God damn it.
White people walk like this. And then black folks, they walk... Yeah.
Anyway, video games.
Video games. Have you played any video games?
No, because I don't play video games, but I've been watching video games.
I was actually going to suggest to you, if I had time today, and I just didn't, that we play some Counter-Strike Go at some point soon. For whatever reason, I've been in the mood to play some CSGO lately.
I'd definitely be down for that. I just need to find a free evening. But yeah, I love some Counter-Strike.
Tuesdays now work for me because we've decided to not do trivia on Tuesday nights because the guy who was our team captain on trivia for Tuesday nights went a little crazy with authority and was like, we got invited to the finals because we did well. And when he found out when the finals were, he realized he had to be out of state that weekend. And so he emailed the trivia company, I guess you could call them, and asked them if they would move the date of the trivia championship for him and him alone, because it didn't work for him.
Wow.
And everyone on the team was just like, fuck that noise. We're not doing that.
First of all, I've never been involved with any kind of trivia that had like finals or a championship.
Yeah, this is where a lot of the problem came in.
So it's like a trivia league.
Yeah, with a lot of the problem with the trivia stuff we did, and I've been doing this for like a year or
right.
a half.
Yeah,
is that when we found out that there was like a championship and all this stuff, the guy who kind of ran the team went fucking bonkers and everything counted and everything. Like, you'd go and hand the answer and he's already on his phone looking it up, even if he was the one who answered the question and knew what the answer was off the top of his head. He would be looking it up.
Where I come from, that get you disqualified.
Yeah, that's why the championship games have no phones at all rule. So, but that sort of shit was like prevalent and it got on everyone's nerves. And so it became, when we went to these trivia nights, it became my wife and I and this guy basically having a 3-person date where one of the people in the group was completely undateable. And it was ugly. It was like he's our fucking chaperone. And so it was bad, and we had to stop doing trivia nights. So Tuesday nights, anyways, now worked better for me if you want to do CSGO on Tuesday. I will not even record it. I won't even record it.
Oh, we can record it, because I guarantee it'll be kind of terrible.
I'll be bad. I know that. I'm usually bad.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty bad at that game.
Yeah.
As good as I used to be at Counter-Strike, not anymore.
Yeah. But, yeah. We'll just play.
I've been watching, the start of a Let's Play of The Order 1886.
Yeah, by the start, you mean you got all through the entire 3-video series that will be?
Not yet. And it's generic B, and he's admittedly terrible at video games, so it'll probably take him several episodes to get through the game, no matter how short it is. But no, he even said from the start, he's like, I've been told this game's like maybe 5 hours tops.
Right.
He's like, and that's being generous.
That's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight, so I'm glad you brought it up.
Well, just from watching it, and I will give this to the game. And first of all, I fucking hate steampunk as a genre. It's fucking dumb. I don't get it. I'd rather see a true period game,
right,
than a period fantasy where you have to put in all this shit that didn't exist. It looks great. It basically seems to be nothing but quick time events with a little bit of Resident Evil style over the shoulder combat.
Right, it's a cover shooter, so it's more Gears of War. But the problem, the problem a lot of reviewers had with the game was that the game fucking letterboxes the entire fucking time, so you can't see the top and bottom thirds of the screen or something like that.
Correct. Yeah, and quick time prompts all over the place for what you need to do. And again, this was the first episode, so obviously it's kind of like tutorial phase.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just seems like nothing but cutscenes. And he even titled the episode Cutscene Simulator 2014. Again, looks great, but I don't really get how they could market this game so well. It's to be that short and be a full price game seems pretty absurd. Especially since he just got done playing, like I mentioned a few weeks ago, just got done playing Red Dead Redemption on PS3. And, for the same price, you have a game that's literally almost endless. And even just the story took them, 20, 30 episodes to get through. 20 to 30 minute episodes.
Yeah.
To have one that could potentially be done in, 8 to 10 is pretty dumb.
Yeah, and here's the thing. This is how, unfortunately, I have to look at games from now on. When you give somebody a single player only game, and you say you want to make it a cinematic experience, and you give them 5 hours of gameplay, I am going to compare you as a single player only game to Wolfenstein: The New Order. That is, like, in my mind, and not just because Machine Games sent me a bunch of shit, but in my mind, that is like... did I tell you that Machine Games sent me, like, some stuff for doing that LP? Yeah. I got a t-shirt and a messenger bag and a poster signed by a lot of the people who worked on the game, and also on Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's really neat. I have to get a frame for it and hang it in this room. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool to get that.
Oh yeah, because you had a guy in the thread who actually worked on the game.
Yeah, he was one of the artists on the game, and he designed like all the weapons and did a few of the areas in the game and everything like that. And he'd been working with Machine Games and had been at Starbreeze before that, so he was really helpful. He kind of popped in and said, "This is some stuff we did here and stuff we did there," and he was like sending me PMs every now and again. I was like, whenever I sent you episodes in advance, I was sending him episodes in advance too, because he was like, "My fiance loves this." He has the same problem I have. My wife will not watch a single fucking thing I do, but will watch everyone else's bullshit for hours on end, even if it's the same game I'm LPing.
Well, it's because she has to hear your bullshit on a daily basis.
She
don't
knows
want to
me.
hear it in her free time.
She knows me. But yeah, his fiance apparently liked it a lot, and so was watching it, watching what I was doing. But yeah,
Nice.
They sent me a poster and a T-shirt that fits surprisingly well, and a messenger bag that is. It's actually really nice, and the T-shirt isn't like a shitty video game T-shirt, like where it's got like BJ's face on it and says Wolfenstein. Like, I would lose my shit if that's what they sent me. I'd wear that everywhere just so people knew I was a fucking grognard. But like, what they sent was like a really stylish little like black shirt. It's got the red Wolfenstein logo on it. It looks nice. So I was happy about that. But unfortunately for The Order and every other single player only game, I'm going to compare it to Wolfenstein, because there is a game.
Yeah. That's pretty much the new benchmark for what a single player only game should be. That's a quote unquote cinematic experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, just if you're gonna, and it comes out and it's got decent graphics on it, especially in certain areas of the game. Unreal 4 didn't, or whatever it was they were using. They were using the Rage or the ID Engine 5 or something like that, but it didn't do them favors in certain areas. But other parts of the game, it looked amazing. But like, looked good, had a really good quality to it, told a really good story. It had a solid. I counted the playlist out today. It clocks in somewhere around, like, if you know exactly what you're doing, like I did. And by the way, when I say exactly what I'm doing, I mean I forgot a couple of things. But if you know what you're doing, you can more or less bust through that thing in like 8 hours if you're trying to show stuff off. The Order is like, some YouTube guy the first week said it was 5 hours. Like,
yeah,
that's not good. And everyone who's reviewed the game, that's kind of been the funny moment of the game. Has been, not only has the studio Ready at Dawn that made the game come out and said, "Well, I made this game 5 hours because I figured people like short games."
Who the fuck thinks that? If I'm not playing, the only time I like short games is when I'm playing on my iPad.
Yeah, well, that was the. So this is. I know that I wanted to talk to you about what you're watching, but hold on. 1886, because that's a year that you just want to remember, people. I hope people who do like these kinds of games with short length, do play them. But I also want to be in an industry where me as a gamer, I'm given the choice to do that. I've played games that lasted 2 hours that were better than games that lasted for 16 hours. That's the reality of it. Gameplay length for me is so relative to quality. It's just like a movie. Just because a movie is 3 hours long doesn't make it better. That's the founder of Ready at Dawn Studios saying that.
First of all, I would love to hear the 2 hour game that he's played that's amazing.
Brothers is supposed to be pretty good but short.
Yeah, but that's, I mean,
a puzzle game. It's
yeah,
a
and
fucking
that's
puzzle game.
And it's fucking indie. Like,
Right. This is my big problem with...
if you are not operating out of someone's fucking apartment, you should be able to put together a great 8 to 10 hour game.
Shovel Knight is, I think, a longer game. Or it's supposed to be. I don't know. But the point is, like, Shovel Knight's a 2D side-scroller that I still have to play. But, what was it? Metal Gear Solid Ground Zeroes is like $40, and it's about the same length. And that's what...
Binding of Isaac.
Well, okay. Here's the thing with...
can be short and endless, technically.
Right.
And it's great.
You could play one round and just be done with it forever, and you're like, well, I spent 5 minutes on that game. But, like, with roguelikes, I don't think that you have the greatest argument in the world for, this game was $15, how come it's longer than your shitty game? It's like the same thing with Spelunky or Gary's Mod or whatever, where it's like, some people were like, I have 5,000 hours in Gary's Mod. You know, of course you have. The game's been out for fucking 10 years. And you basically...
And there are no directives to it.
Yeah, right. It's basically Minecraft before there was Minecraft.
Yeah.
And, Minecraft, same way. My nephew can play fucking 20 hours of that in a week, and his brain will slide out his ears because he's 7, but whatever. And just... he'll have a time with it. But The Order, being a structured single-player game that looks to be cinematic, you can't fucking do 5 hours. God of War is longer than that. Here's the thing. If you go to a PS2 game that you're trying to rip off or whatever with all your QTEs bullshit, make it longer than that game. Because people are paying $60 for this game. And they paid 400 some odd dollars for your platform to play it on. This is one of your exclusives, like the big Sony exclusives. And you can only make it 5 hours. And it's filled with QTEs and reused cutscenes, because someone pointed out there's a point in the game where a werewolf jumps at you and you go through the exact same sequence as when the end boss jumps at you.
Oh god.
So it's like they just replaced the scenery and the model that was swinging at you. That's it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I wish I could had the clout online somewhere to like coin the phrase enhanced QuickTime event, because that's pretty much what the game is. It's one long enhanced QuickTime event.
Right. And there's a thing. If you're going to go and make a game and you're going to say, here's a $60 game, and this has happened, I kid you not, people will come out and defend you now, no matter what you do with your fucking shitty game. Because people have been up and down defending Ready at Dawn. There was like another podcast that came out last week that was like, why Ready at Dawn's The Order 1886 is a good game. And it was part of their argument was straight up that it doesn't take too long to beat it, and so that should be the mark of good games in the future, is that it doesn't take too long to beat the game. But like,
no.
Yes. And there's people that are like on the Sony subreddit who are saying, I'm glad this game is only 5 hours, or it's going to be short. It makes me happier because it means that this game is going to be something I'll beat and I'll sit down and play through. I don't understand who this person is who says...
Number one, they're probably someone who didn't spend their own money on the game, i.e. children whose parents bought it for them.
Right.
Or number two, they're trying to delude themselves that it wasn't a poor purchase.
Right, and I think people do that a lot with
a
lot of games. But the thing is, like, there's no defending that. In this day and age, there is no defending. These are multi-million-dollar, investments in these games, and this thing has been in development for, I kid you not, at least 3 years. So, when I bust through Battlefield's single-player campaign in 4 hours, I fucking expect that. Because it's a goddamn Battlefield single-player campaign. And ain't no one playing this game for that single-player.
Right.
If you go and you say, all I'm going to work on is single-player, I am going to have this single-player campaign, then there's no excuse for it to be, short as shit. And have no content or no side content, and apparently no replay value because there's nothing really you can do differently. Let me go pull this up. I have played Wolfenstein. Okay, first off, I've played Besiege, a game that is literally just you putting blocks together to make siege engines.
To make guys jerking themselves off.
And shooting fire everywhere, as I sent you that. I did send you that GIF.
Yeah.
I played 36 hours of Wolfenstein: The New Order. Now, I want to point this out. I did... that is a game I LP'd. I played it twice before I LP'd it, and then I played it twice for the LP. So I beat that game a total of 4 times. 36 hours. So that's pretty good. If you beat the Order 4 times, you have 20 hours of gameplay. Probably less because you know what you're doing at that point.
And they're all exactly the same.
And, yeah, it's just, why are you, why is this a thing? Why are you pushing this out? Just go ahead and take your time, make the game. Don't fucking put the letterboxes on the top and bottom, because a lot of reviews have said that basically makes it impossible to use the cover system because you have no angle to see anyone ever.
Well, it's that, and it really kind of, at least to my eyes, and I don't know if it's something with the aspect ratio, putting it on YouTube, but it really looks like you have a narrow field of vision.
Yes.
Which I had, oh god, what was that other steampunk game that came out last year? Started with a B, I think. You were like, you had some kind of like special powers and shit.
Well, that's just about every other game.
But
Shadowrun.
I can't remember the name of the game. It started with a B. It's where you were like some steampunk motherfucker in England.
Was it the
Dishonored? That's what it was.
Yeah, it was
Dishonored.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, I felt like the field of vision was really, really narrow in that one too.
Oh, see,
like it felt like you were constantly zoomed in.
Yeah, I find that happening in a few different games now. The really nice thing about playing on a PC is almost every single game has a fucking FOV slider on it. So fuck that noise. I'll just play with fucking 360 degree view. Thank you. I can see all around me at all the time. It's weird, but it's nice. Yeah. Like, some things are done like that. So they, especially with Dishonored, I think, because it came so late in the life cycle of the PS3 and the Xbox 360, is that they were doing that so they would be able to, you wouldn't have to render as many objects on screen at once. And from what I understand about the Order, is that might also be why they're doing the letterboxing there, is that the game's locked at 30 frames per second, because it's the year of our Lord 2015, and it's letterbox, but it's got some of what people call the best graphics on the PS4 so far. And to me, that's suggesting the way they're accomplishing that is by narrowing your field of view and limiting your frame rate. And it's like, I don't want to get fucking PC console warrior bullshit every week on this podcast, but that's a fucking problem. That is a serious problem. If you have to go and say, I'm going to make the best looking game, but I'm going to limit your field of view and your frame rate just so I can do that, you need to tone down your graphics and just make a better game. Like, straight up. I could care less about how good the game looks if it's playable and fun and has an experience I want to go through.
So who did they, is Red Dawn both the studio and the publisher?
Ready at Dawn is a Sony studio, I believe.
Okay.
Well,
and that's the thing. Ultimately, it's up to the publisher. Like, they're, at least my jaded, skeptical opinion is that they don't give a shit how well the game plays. They just want something that looks good that they can market.
Yeah. Oh, they worked on God of War, Ghost of Sparta, and the God of War Origins collection before the Order. Their last game was their Metacritic scores. Daxter, which was a side game for Jack and Daxter, got an 85 out of 100. God of War: Chains of Olympus in 2008 got 91. Okami got a 90. It was the Wii port of that game.
Dude, I fucking loved Okami.
Well, they did the Wii port in 2008, and they got a 90 on it. Ghost of Sparta got an 86. The Origins Collection got an 84. And The Order 1886 has a Metacritic score of 66 out of 100.
You can't win them all.
Yeah. So, clearly they should stick to working on licensed games and not new stuff, because they're bad at it. But,
well, I mean, anytime you try and lead with steampunk, then, yeah, it's going to be bad.
Who does steampunk in this day and age? Like, realistically.
Fucking nerds.
Nerds.
That's who does steampunk.
Yeah, so, like, it's really sad. When you walk into really what you should do is say, if you want to do a single-player only experience that's an action game, here's Wolfenstein. This is your gold standard from now on. And that was a $60 game at release. I can see that happening. There was a lot to that game. There was a lot to go through. There was a few things you could find and go and get and everything like that. This game comes out a year later and is the same price point, 5 hours long, or maybe 8 hours if you're very lucky. No reason to replay it. $60. How do you price a game? And this is something somebody brought up on the IGN boards that got like reprinted everywhere. Like what keeps Skyrim from being a $200 game? You know, if $60 is going to be for 5 hours, how many hours can people get out of Skyrim? So why can't they just charge you that money? And you know there's going to be DLC for this shit. Like, you know.
For The Order?
Yeah, I bet you anything. Side missions or some bullshit. I bet you.
Yeah, I don't know.
And people will buy it. That's the insane thing. People will fucking buy it. Because people are stupid as shit. And they're defending a 5-hour game that took 3 years to make that has no multiplayer component or redeeming qualities, it seems.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't fathom what kind of DLC there would be for The Order.
I don't know. Yeah.
more goggles and gears.
Yeah.
Download the Goggles and Gears DLC now.
You can put gears on your goggles.
And goggles on your gears.
Doesn't make any sense, but it works for us. $2.99. Yeah. Let's see. Kevin Van Ord of GameSpot criticized what he believed was boring storytelling, boring gameplay, and a lack of missions with guns and werewolves, which had been what the fuck?
Yeah, I thought that was the point of the game.
Replaced with long periods of inactivity of observing objects and walking slowly.
I mean, you're in. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You move so fucking slow in that game. That's one thing that Generic B touched on for like the first, like getting through the kind of beginning tutorial missions. Like he's like, all right, I'm trying to run. It's like I know everyone's getting mad at me because I'm walking so slow right now, but it literally will not let me run forward.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You're in Victorian London, so yeah, maybe you should spend most of the game just sitting down and having tea and having dry, witty conversations with your companions.
Might be that's the sequel or the DLC. I can't tell.
Maybe a young Winston Churchill comes in and runs errands for you as like an Easter egg. But I mean, there are no like hidden trophies or anything to search for in that game. I don't think, are there?
I wouldn't know. I don't own a PS4, thankfully. I'm not associated with this direct.
Because I mean that was one thing that kind of extended the playability of like Wolfenstein, or even when you were doing Arkham City.
Yeah. Like
even if you've beaten the game, done all the side missions, if you really wanted, if you enjoyed the game enough, you could go back and trophy hunt and get those sweet Chivos, bro, and all that sort of stuff. I don't think there's any of that in The Order, but I'm not sure. Yeah. So.
I'm just going through some of my single-player only games. Mercenary Kings, I have 30 hours in it. Medal of Honor, 8 hours. So it's as long as a Medal of Honor game, but that had a multiplayer component. 8 hours of Max Payne 3, so that's good, I guess. Let's see. Skyrim doesn't have. No, I don't want to install Dub Wars again. Thank you. I mean,
wop 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 wop.
Dark Souls. I have 30 hours in that game, and I didn't even finish it. So, like, in a world where you have all these options out there, and you want to talk about people don't want to spend that much money on games, economy's down, blah 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 blah. Why the fuck are you releasing a game that people are going to immediately go, that's not worth my time, as soon as they hear about the length? And I know I'm, like, really focusing on the length of this shitty game and not the shittiness of the game at this point. But, like, first and foremost, you don't want to have someone go, well, it was terrible, but at least it was short. And, like, that's definitely not the impression you want to give, but that seems to be the impression they gave in this game.
Yikes. I mean, I just wondered how much... because gameplay is kind of so limited in that game anyway, as like we basically said, it's basically a series of cutscenes and QuickTime events.
Yeah.
How much would they how much would they charge for you to just watch that as a CGI movie?
I'm sure.
Like, why not? Why try and make some fucking stupid interactive movie when you can just make a little feature-length movie, which people would enjoy more? Put it on fucking Spike or G4 Tech TV or some shit. People probably might enjoy it more than spending $60 for some bullshit game that they don't even really get to do much on anyway.
Yeah, I think people have been saying that to Hideo Kojima for the last decade now, and he hasn't really listened to any of it. So, I don't know.
Who is that again?
The guy who does Metal Gear.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a good question. If you're going to go out of your way to make it cinematic and fill it with cutscenes and all this other stuff and try to have the action on the screen. One of the things I fucking hate about QuickTime events, and once again, Wolfenstein coming through on here and only having fucking one in the entire game, and that was just to bite someone in the fucking neck and scare the shit out of this Nazi douchebag. So, one, better game already.
And it was so satisfying, too.
Yeah. Fucking Hans Twinkle getting bit in the neck.
Hans Twinkle.
That's his name. That's
Hans Twinkelstein.
Booby, the guy Booby with the blonde hair. His actual name is Hans Twinkle.
You were shitting me.
I really should have done a video of the bios and everything in that game.
Oh my god.
Hans Twinkle. So, yeah, like, there you go. But, like, the thing that always bugs me about QuickTime events, and it bugged me since I played Tomb Raider for the reboot, is that when you have to look at a certain part of the screen for your next instruction, you miss out on the cool action that's happening above, because oftentimes you have a very narrow window to hit that next button, and so you're just like staring at this area of the screen that has nothing to do with the action going on. And from what I've seen, the orders, QuickTime events all come at the bottom center of the screen where nothing's happening. So,
and I'm glad you brought that up. Like, Tomb Raider, I think, was a great example of a quote-unquote cinematic experience that also looked to be a really fun, playable game.
No, and I don't want to detract from the game when I say anything about QuickTime events, because there were a few in that game.
Right.
But it was a fun game, and I enjoyed my time with it immensely.
And it was longer than 5 hours, wasn't it?
Hold on.
Yes. I want to say it was closer to like 8, wasn't it?
I would say closer to 9, if I had to guess. I picked up everything in my second playthrough, and I have 24 total hours in this game, so I would say it's probably closer to 9 per playthrough, and then...
And it was great. It told a really, I hate to use the word enthralling, but like you got kind of a little invested in that story. Like, it was a very interesting storyline.
Yeah.
Got a little, it kind of jumped the shark a little bit with kind of the mysticism and the crazy shit that went on in it. But it was a great example of a cinematic game that was still a game and not just a collection of cutscenes.
Right. Oh, man, I can't tell you how long I played Red Faction for because I did it all through a mod.
God,
damn
Red
it.
Faction.
Because I'm pretty sure Red Faction...
Not a great example of a cinematic playable game.
I'm pretty sure Red Faction, a game released in 2001, was longer than that motherfucking The Order game. But, I mean, look, you want to talk about cinematic games, look at the Metro series. Last Light in 2033.
Yeah.
Those are really like cinematic and really well paced and everything like that, and they look amazing. And it's like, why couldn't you just take that? Don't go out and remake Metro. I'm not saying to do that as your fucking steampunk London bullshit game that you're doing here, but like, who funds? In 2015, who's funding a goddamn steampunk game? If someone came into my office and was like, I just need you to kickstart my steampunk game, I just go like, is Johnny Five Aces in this game? Like, are they after the Zyborn clock? Yes or no? And after they walk out disappointed, it's like...
Oh yeah, if it was a Johnny Five Aces Zyborn clock game, I would absolutely fund it.
No questions asked. Just here's all the money you need.
Oh yeah.
I don't care anymore.
Take my money, damn it.
Take it and make this game. It needs to be seen.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah. Take this money. It needs to be seen by the rest of the world. Mark of the Ninja. Side-scrolling 2D platformer. 10 hours.
Jeez.
Just Cause 2. I played 8 hours of that, and I didn't even get like 3 missions in, because Just Cause 2 is not about missions. I mean, just, come on, dude. Work with me. Fear 2 Project Origin, 13 hours, 2 playthroughs. So, not very long, but still longer than The Order.
Can we just mention real quick how appropriate it is we're talking about cinematic games when the Oscars are tonight?
Oh, yeah, that's true.
What an appropriate... We didn't even mean to be this topical.
No. Ready at Dawn decided to make a shitty game all on their own. But, like, and it's hard for me... this is on my case. It's hard for me, personally, to like, say this game is shitty when I haven't touched it. I haven't ever even held a PlayStation 4 controller. But I haven't heard one good thing that wasn't someone desperately trying to cover up the fact that this game is bad. Like, yeah. I hope people enjoy short games.
Yeah.
When you start saying it's a good thing this game is short because I never finish long games, it's like, do you just sit down and just play a game, and if you don't finish it in one shot, you just go, can't play it anymore, it's broken. Like, it's on replayable medium, my friend. You can keep going.
That's the kind of person that goes to a concert only to hear like the hits and then leaves before the encore.
Yeah, right. Just play the hits. Shut up and play the hits. It's the name of the movie, right? But yeah, like, it drives me nuts that this is something people are out there defending. Not like people who are paid to defend it either, like the guys who run the studio, but like random ass people who are just excited for this game and bought a PlayStation 4 a year ago and have nothing to play on it still, and are just like, it's this or I keep playing that superpower game that I forgot the name of. Yep. Well, once Uncharted 4 comes out, let me tell you, that won't be another cover shooter that's only 8 hours long.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if you've got the disposable income that, like, you can drop, $400 and not really give a shit about it, then, more power to you. And I think Generic B actually said in his video that he bought a PlayStation 4 specifically so that he could record and play, The Order for people, because it was incredibly hyped up.
Yep.
As going to be, a major, like at least the first major title of 2015 for the PS4. So I mean, we'll see how it turns out for them. I mean, I'm sure we'll get tons of views off those videos because obviously people are talking about the game.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, shit. If we're talking about it, then definitely we're on the pulse of the gaming community. So
right,
obviously, other people are talking about it.
That's it.
But yeah, I feel bad for maybe the people who don't have that kind of money to throw around might have bought a PS4. Bought? Did I just try to fucking say bought as a word?
Yeah.
I'm not that fucking southern.
It's Sweden. It's a place in Sweden, Botten.
Yeah. I feel bad for the people who might have bought a PS4 just for the order.
I feel bad for anyone who buys anything for any specific game anyways.
Yeah.
Like, if you build a PC just because you want to play Elite Dangerous or something like that, you should probably just, maybe look into some termination options. But, like, it's this and, like, people who bought the Xbox One for the Master Chief Collection.
Titanfall.
Or Titanfall. Well, that came out on the PC too, so oops. But it wasn't very good on either platform. Just gonna give you a heads up. But like the Master Chief Collection, it's been released for 100 days now, and people are still complaining that it's unplayable in certain areas.
Yikes!
And it's like, this is I wish I was making this up, but in my mind, this is kind of the new normal, is that people and companies are going to basically assume that because of exclusives, they're going to have certain supporters that are just never going to see them doing wrong, no matter what it is. Yeah. They could release a God of War game where Kratos looks right at the camera and goes, raping people is cool. And, like, there will be somebody who comes in and just goes, like, I don't know what your guys' problem is. Rape wasn't even a crime until 1964. And, like, just go off on, like, this weird tangent and try to, like, justify what's happening in any of these universes or by any of these things. And it's just, Nathan Drake shows up and he says, only commit violence against women, never men. Men's rights forever. And then, like, there'll be a billion men's rights activists who support this shit and buy, like, 6 PlayStation 4s to prove their point. I don't know why I'm having this problem with women tonight, but both of my examples were really terrible, but I was trying to think of, like, the worst things you could say in the world, and, like, I couldn't go up and say Nathan Drake going, black people suck, you should shoot them, like... Like one of Drake's quips is like, kill all the blacks, and like people would be like, yeah, I want to get a white PlayStation 4 because Nathan Drake said black people suck, and like, that will be a thing. There will be people defending those insane things I just said, and if you're skipping through the video and just like randomly found that last sentence, I am not a racist, but like, it's amazing to me. You should never ever be that loyal to a shitty company that is there to take your money. It's the same thing as when recently there's been this spate of people who are trying to like justify why PlayStation Now or whatever the fuck it is awesome, and one of their answers is there's free games. And a lot of people have been pointing out, like, no, you subscribe to the service. That is not a free game. You're paying for that game, even tangentially.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I didn't pay directly for the game, therefore it's free. And it's like, oh man, our concept of free is very different. And that's the attitude, though. It's, this thing was said to me by this company that I trust and I like, and I want them to be good to me, and so everything they do is going to be perceived as being in my best interest.
No, and I can get it. Like, you have invested both your money and your interest in a company or, anything, even, going down the line into like bands or whatnot. When they do something shitty or put out a shitty product, because you've invested that time and money or interest or whatever, you don't want to admit it. Like, you really want to kind of delude yourself that, no, it's actually really good. Like, I didn't make a bad choice. Like, you're just not seeing it for what it really is. This is actually really good. Like, no, like, it's okay. You can admit you made a poor investment in this company. They put out a shitty product. You need to call them out on it and not just blindly defend them, or they're going to keep putting out shitty products.
Yeah, and I think that's a big problem right now, is that, like, people are way too willing to just accept what they have. And I think that's kind of something that's been interesting about how EA approached this last couple of months. And, the Hardline beta came out last year, and everyone was like, this is really fucking underwhelming, dude. And even people who were, like, kind of excited for the idea of cop and robber Battlefield were telling EA, like, this needs to go back to the drawing board. And they took it back to the drawing board, and they delayed the launch, and they did another beta. And people were actually very happy with the beta. And I will be very happy with that game if they take out Hotwire mode, which is a steaming piece of shit. And if you're listening to this and you work for EA, and I know there's at least one of you, you should take that game out.
We're talking about you, Kevin.
Yeah.
I don't know what his name is.
The guy Yig turned onto my channel. You know who you are.
Get your shit together, Tyrone.
Yeah. Stop fucking up, Tyrone. Stop fucking up. Yeah. This, when you listen to the customer, you take a little extra time and you put a little extra money into it, it's going to pay off because you don't have to spend a year fixing it like you did Battlefield 4. Like, this is just basic, math. But it's the same way a lot of companies are now, and I can say this as having been a salesperson for a large corporation that didn't give a fuck. They do not care about long-term planning or investment. They care about the $1 million sale today, and like the shit they have to do tomorrow is so far gone in their mind that it doesn't even matter. It doesn't exist. Like the company I just left, if you told like my boss, listen, this is a really bad idea, we shouldn't do this, it's just going to waste my time, blah blah blah, she goes, yeah, but it's $400,000. Yeah, but it's $400,000 we'll never see, but here's $30,000 we can have, but it's $400,000, and I end up working on something that never comes through. And there was a point where I had $5 million of a $6 million product line sitting in my backlog of things I would never sell because my boss told me to make the biggest possible sale when it wasn't what the customer needed or wanted. Like, that is the big company mentality that is dominating video games, though, because it's like, what's the biggest, stupidest thing I can sell you and put the least amount of effort into to do it? And I'm going to do that no matter what. If, the Order probably could have been a really good 5-hour game if they'd taken the time to go in and do different stuff with it, give you different options through the game, give you, a New Game Plus mode or something. Anything to make it different on another playthrough. People won't mind it if there's like collectibles to go find and things to go look at and stuff to go do in this area, mini game, something. But it sounds like they didn't bother with that shit because they just figured we'll sell it on hype alone. Steampunk. And that is my video game rant for tonight. Join me tomorrow night where I will rant about video games again in the same exact way. But I kind of dominated this, and I'm sorry for that. But it's just it bugs me on a weird level as somebody who's, I've bought games that I've been burned on before, but I also have bought 12 games for $15 before. I'm feeling pretty good about that decision, let me tell you what. I fucking had to hack the shit, or not hack the shit, but rather go and copy and paste the hack from 2009 to get Star Wars Republic Commando working properly.
Oh, really?
Yeah, all you had to do was get a hex editor, and you can go in and change some values so you're playing at 1080p with a 117 degree field of view. Looks nice. It looks like a nice game. It's hard to remember that game was an Xbox One, like goddamn Xbox original game when it came out, and I keep thinking that it was like an early 360 game. So, but it looks good. It's still fun to play. There's some annoying sections in the middle of the game. That and Besiege is all I played this week because fucking building a siege engine and like launching cannonballs at people or doing whatever the fuck you want is actually kind of fun. And like, it's mindless fun. It's in an alpha state. There's no VSync, so my screen tears like crazy. But I have a weird amount of fun of just putting together the most bizarre machine I can.
Yeah, I've watched a few videos of that game, and like, oh god, all last week, Imager was just completely swamped with nothing but gifs of people's besieged engines. And some of them were really funny, really creative. Saw one where a guy basically made like a samurai, like with a sword, who would like lunge forward and chopped at a windmill and like destroyed it before the entire thing basically just exploded. So it's really cool to see how creative people are in that game. I would not be creative enough to make use of that game. Looks like a lot of fun, but just seeing what some of the stuff people come up with, I was like, I would never think of that.
Yeah, some of the stuff I was looking, there was like a 30 best creations, and some dude came up with a fucking sea turtle that actually moved, and like he had all these. It was crazy to look at, and he was like showing it from all these angles. It was like, what the fuck is this guy doing? I can barely build a catapult, and this. But there was one that I'm still trying to imitate to an acceptable degree. That was just like, he called it the ultimate war machine, and it was like this. It was made completely out of like pistons and suspensions and everything, like all metal, so it could be burned to death and no one would care. Oh, it was amazing to watch, and I was like, I kind of want to build one of those. What the hell? So, yeah, that's been my week, is trying to get that. I did watch Stranded Deep.
Oh yeah. How'd you like it?
It was it's interesting. I was just you're watching it and you're just like, you get these. It's a good call, like a good sense of like a lot of the survival games, like The Forest or The Long Dark, in a lot of ways. And then in others, it's like he's just going out and like, hey, a shipwreck, and swimming down there and fighting a shark and everything. It's a good setting for one of those survival games, those lonesome survivor games.
Yeah.
Thankfully, no zombies. I think they've gotten off that zeitgeist now. Mostly because Sony Online Entertainment got sold away from Sony, and is now like Dawnbreak Studios or something like that, and is no longer making that terrible zombie game that got everyone really angry. So, good job supporting that early access zombie game from Sony Entertainment, everyone. It's dead. But I thought it was anyways. But like the whole series seems like it has a lot of potential, where it's like he's still finding shit out, and people are telling him in the comments, no, do this, which is very common with anyone who has any sort of YouTube presence whatsoever, is people will come in. I love hearing that. It's like, yeah, last time in the comments you guys told me that I fucking suck and I should probably kill myself, and so, you know, like, they'll do whatever the comments tell them to do. It's amazing. It's like, if I hit Control F4, I'll apparently get some really cool stuff. Or Alt F4. God damn it, I can't even get my own jokes right. But, like, yeah. It seems like a neat concept for a game, and then Jenny B does a good job of showing it off.
Yeah, and what's been nice is that the development team has actually been pretty diligent with updating it and, you know, putting new stuff in. They fixed the whales.
Oh, good.
The whales no longer swim through the island and steal your stuff.
That's good.
They put in stingrays and sea turtles, which if you actually look at it, when you find a sea turtle, they have like these fake. It doesn't just say, like, when you hover your cursor over it doesn't just say sea turtle. It has like a fake scientific name. And they're all named after Ninja Turtles.
Nice.
So there's like Leonardus, whatever, Michelangelus, whatever, for like turtle. So you can find all four Ninja Turtles.
It's pretty good.
But yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how that game ultimately develops. If they'll put in like, if getting rescued is like the end goal, or if you're just trying to subsist. But it seems like he's gotten it down to where at least now in the game he can survive indefinitely.
Yeah.
Unless he just really screws up and gets eaten by a shark. Like that's really the only danger he's in right now. Like, he's got food. It seems pretty easy to get food and water kind of squared away.
Yeah.
Just exploring maybe 2 or 3 islands.
And this is the thing that bugs me about a lot of those survival games, and we're really running up on the time limit here, but like the fact that once you get to a stable situation, there's not a ton you can do.
Right. Yeah.
And more games really need to be like Don't Starve, and I don't like using it as a really great analogy, but it's a good one, in that they will do things to... the game will fundamentally do things to fuck you over.
Yeah, it'll constantly try and throw a wrench into the gears of the game.
Yep.
And I think The Long Dark is a good example of that as well. That seems to be a game that really tries to screw you over in any given moment. Like, as soon as you think you're comfortable, it throws something else at you.
Oh yeah, and the other part of The Long Dark is that it's incredibly difficult just to get set up in a good way.
Right.
Like, you can find a couple of areas, but you might be completely fucked when you get to them. And there's no getting back from certain things, and like scavenging for everything. And it's like, oh, I'm gonna make some mittens from this deer if I can shoot it, but I can't. Those are all 5 bullets I could ever find for this gun. It's useless now. It's scrap.
All I wanted were some deer mittens.
Yeah, but like, I think that's going to be... I don't think survival games are ever going to go away. I think it's proven itself to be a very popular genre that requires a little bit of work in terms of getting the physics and everything lined up. Excuse me. But, like, it's going to be... The balance on survival games now is going to be making it so you have a reason to keep playing once you've gotten yourself set up. Because once you've done it once in a lot of these games, Minecraft is a good example. It's like kind of the granddaddy of a lot of these survival games that are out there now. Even if it's no longer really about survival because everyone's had the game for 8 years or whatever. But like having to struggle to get to a stability situation, and then having things that can knock you right out of that stability situation in a couple seconds, through no fault of your own even sometimes. Just like a lightning strike takes out all of your crops. Like, that's kind of where I think games are going in the future. It's going to be making sure that the player is constantly having to do something to keep them involved in the game, and they don't get bored after 20 minutes of the game because they figured out how to get money or whatever.
Right.
So, who knows? We'll see where that goes. We're just jawing here. So, any last thoughts, Three Toes? This is kind of late for us.
Yeah, not particularly. It's that sad time of year where there's no more football for a long time. So,
yeah. Well, hey,
I'm hesitant to even say Roll Tide. So
you can watch the Combine.
I actually have been a little bit.
Woo.
As sad as that kind of is. Just mainly just following some Clemson guys that are in the Combine, seeing how they're doing, but.
I hope Jameis Winston ends up like going last.
You mean Jameis?
Is that how he pronounces it?
Yeah, Jameis.
I don't pay attention to college football, so I see names and I'm just like, sure. That's how you say that name.
Famous Jameis is basically a good way to remember it. It rhymes with famous.
Rapist Jameis?
Oh, God. Yeah, that too.
Yeah, it works out. Shoulderless Jameis is probably the way people are going to know him in the future because it sounds like his shoulder's all fucked, which is good for him. Quarterbacks don't need to throw, right?
Well, they've said they've been really impressed with him so far, at least his knowledge of the game. I haven't really paid attention too much to how he's been doing, but it's basically been everyone just comparing him and Marcus Mariota head to head, seeing how they're both doing.
Yeah,
for the most part.
That's been kind of fun to read on the sidelines, but
yeah.
Which terrible team do you think they'll end up?
Oh God, Jameis will probably end up going to like the Jaguars or some bullshit.
Yeah, he and Bortles can throw passes to nobody.
Dude, Blake Bortles has one of the greatest names in football history, so.
Well, he has one of the worst teams, so it's really helping him. Alright, well, Roll Tide all the same.
Roll Tide.